Hello and welcome to the OT Creative Space podcast, the show that connects artists and communities through the power of creativity. I'm Lynda Sterling, the creative director of OT Creative Space, and in this series, we're going to explore identity, lived experience, and culture through the objects that we keep, discard, and the waste that we create. Maybe you don't even know what OT Creative Space is. We are an arts organisation based in an old butcher's shop on Ayres Road in Old Trafford, and we provide studio space for artists and also a whole host of kind of creative workshops, community activities, and community art projects for the people of Old Trafford and around. So today we'll be speaking to three incredible artists who are working on the project with us at OT Creative Space. And they're going to share their creative journeys, the objects that inspire their work, and how they're exploring the themes of waste, identity, and culture. So make sure you listen all the way through for some great insights and also some surprises at the end. So we are going to meet our artists, our special guests here today. We're going to do a little fun game in a minute, but I'm delighted to say that we've got Hattie, Konguaruan, we've got Lisa Blake, and we've got Rosie Antiszko with us today. We're going to do a little bit of a fun game just for them to introduce themselves to you. So, first off, thank you for joining us today, guys. It's great to have you here and great to have you on the project with us. So, in order for you to share a little bit about your practice, I am going to pick up an object that I've got on the side table here, and hopefully you'll recognise that it relates to one of your artistic practices. We'll see how it goes, and you can share a little bit about yourself. And then I think we will be seeing a little bit of your work and your practice later on as well. Okay, are we ready? So I have got a mouse here. Now, who would like to claim this as part of their practice?
I think that's me.
Introduce yourself and why that object might be related to your art practice.
Love it. Great. Yeah. I'm Hattie Konguaruan, artistically Hattie Konguaruan, my full name. And I am an upcycling artist, producer, and facilitator. And I make works upcycling furniture and discarded objects into creatures and little characters that have their own unique personalities and reactions to being saved from landfill. So they're all very whimsical and cute. But I also run lots of workshops with young people, mostly around the waste issue as well, and trying to think about how to bring our identities and stories into objects and waste that we find.
So, Hattie, what is the significance of this art piece here, and how does it tie into your exploration of waste and identity?
So this art piece is called Clicked, and it's the 2022 piece around thinking about e-waste and technology, and it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, the name. It's about technology and how rapidly it advances, and also because of that becomes obsolete. So nothing is really built to last. And this creature, he's made from a little computer mouse, and is also made out of chopsticks for its legs. And I guess I wanted to draw that connection between the waste, technological waste we create in the West, and how that's often dumped and disposed of in places like Asia and Thailand, where my parents are from. So the laptop is actually one of my own laptops from the early noughties, repurposed with a fairy screen. So kind of bring that idea that it's also coming back to life.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm slightly scared that the spider's going to come and get me. But brilliant. Thanks, Hattie. That is great. Okay, the next object that I am going to take from this table here is we have got a ball of yarns. So which artist might this relate to?
That will be me. Thank you very much. My name's Rosie, and I'm an artist, and my passions lie with folk art. Ever since I was a child, I used to enjoy listening to my family's stories. My mum was from Italy and my father was from the Ukraine. So they had tremendous folk tales from their cultures, and we had lots of traditions that we celebrated. So I've always been interested, and I've always had a love of storytelling and different cultures, and wanting to learn more about their symbolism and their culture and their art and their stories that they were told, and folklore and all that sort of thing. And a few years ago, I had an exhibition at the Creative Space, which was probably never meant to happen, because I was just creating some dolls out of a box of old fabrics that I had in the house, and it was something to do for my well-being. And I decided to make a green lady to celebrate spring, and that was going to be just as a decoration on my living room wall. And my partner said, why don't you explore these films, because you can see that you've got a sparkle back in your eye and you seem really happy and you're researching things. And I was like, oh. So I thought about it, and then one doll led to another and another, and it was all going back, connecting to my roots as well as my British roots. So I've explored folklore from, Italy, the Ukraine, and England.
Fantastic. I think we've got one of the dolls here as well.
Do we have the
art pieces? It would be great to see actually how beautiful and unique and wonderful these are.
Thank you very much.
So please, Rosie, tell us a little bit about this item and kind of how does it relate into your exploration of kind of waste or things that might be forgotten or discarded?
Yeah.
Identity.
Now, can I just start off saying that this is a green man, and the green man appears in many different cultures and stories, but this is a story that I learned, and it was about the Oak King and the Holly King, and it's a celebration of the changing of the seasons. So this chap here is my version of the Holly King, who rules from spring to summer, and then when the wheel changes, there's a battle, and it's another green man, and I suppose you could say they are possibly the same person, but it's the Holly King wins the battle, and he rules autumn to winter, and it's just reflecting, like the spring colours and the oak, and he symbolises prosperity, regrowth, new beginnings, and in his hands there, I've designed a little oak growing from his hand, so it's rebirth. So as I was taking into fabrics, like I said, I had old necklaces and things that were broken and bits of fabric, and I thought, oh, what can I do with them? I could either just re-bin them, or I could give them a new lease of life. So that's what I kind of decided to do, and I suppose going forward on the reclaimed narratives, I'd like to be able to get together with the community and learn their stories and experience more of their culture, and we could all learn from one another. And when we have things that we want to throw away, such as, like, for example, an old shirt that you may love it and you love the pattern, but you can't keep it anymore because it's done. And I just thought, well, how nice would it be to make something new from those pieces? Or if you have special, something something special, like my mum passed away and I kept all of her jewellery and half of it was broken. And I thought, well, what can I do? And so I decided I want to use it in my work, and I want to give it, because I'll enjoy looking at it then, because it's got a new life and it reminds me of happy times and something that I love very much. So I'm hoping to get everyone together where we can use lots of, discarded fabrics, cards, papers, anything that we can produce and share our stories.
That's wonderful. And I tell you what, the Green Man is particularly apt today because you might not be able to see it now in this studio, but it is a gloriously sunny spring day outside.
Right.
So it feels just right that he is here with us today. Okay, now last but definitely not least, I have a roll of bin bags here. And no, they're not just for cleaning up after the podcast. They actually relate to the artistic practice of Lisa. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why bin bags might relate to you.
Okay, my name's Lisa Blake, and bin bags relate to me because I have made braids and Nubian knots out of bin bags.
Fantastic. And I think we can see some of the work that you've created with them. Tell me a little bit about this piece here, and kind of what was your motivation in creating it, and how does it relate to the sort of the ideas of waste or things being discarded and identity?
Okay, I think the idea at first was to make something that is would normally go into a bin. I decided to use bin bags to represent racism, as in one day these bin bags will disappear and disintegrate, and we will be amazed that they ever existed, as in maybe racism.
Mm-hmm.
So I have done plaits and knots because of my culture. Both my parents are from Jamaica, and to highlight Afro hair, not just Afro hair, Black people's hair, because there's relaxers, extensions. So just to
create a really kind of striking, bold, piece of art that I think is very thought-provoking and challenging, and inspiring.
And to, I suppose, share my culture, and there'll be like more of an understanding and acceptance, not just from people with European hair, people with Afro hair as well. There's a lot more to learn about.
Yeah, and it must have taken quite a long time, did it, to create?
Yeah,
that's good. Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. That's brilliant. So great to just get a little more insight into all of your artistic practices, and I think certainly it's something that will really contribute and lead this Reclaimed Narratives project as well. So now we're going to go a little deeper into the theme of reclaimed narratives, because each of you, as we've kind of seen in the work that you've produced, is kind of approaching waste, identity, culture from a unique perspective. So can you share just a little bit about how you see waste, not just as discarded materials, but as something that actually can speak to identity, culture, and also the environment?
I think that today we sort of don't maybe show, like, say, a piece of furniture the respect it deserves. We like it for 6 months and then we're done with it, and then we want to get rid of it. And I sort of think that's the shame. And I just sometimes wonder, because I go to the tip quite a lot just to help other people, with the decorating, so it's all wallpaper and stuff that you need to get rid of and recycle, put it in the right area. But sometimes I see people with lovely pieces of furniture, but I'm a bit too shy to say, oh, are you really going to tip that? Because I'd really like that, because I'd like to, I could paint that and do something nice with it, and have it in my house or gift it to someone. And I just think it's a shame that we discard things so quickly these days. That
there's not appreciation from it. And Hattie, you work with furniture, in fact, quite often in your work. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's like a huge thing around disposability and consumerism with objects and furniture. And I'm a bit like Rosie. Like my whole practice started at uni when I'd be in the workshop and been told to like buy all these canvases, and it was really expensive, and I was like, no, actually I'm not going to do that. I want to see if I can be creative as cheaply as possible. And I just went to the streets in Leeds, where I was at uni at the time, and just picked up all the chairs for my degree show from the streets around Leeds University and like the Leeds like student houses and stuff. And you can't believe how many chairs you can just get off the street like that. And you do feel a bit cheeky. But I got to a point where all my friends, so many people would just send me messages with photos of like chairs around the campus saying, here, like come grab these chairs, there's 6 of them. And it was amazing. Like it was almost like a weird community of people just, I got known as like the crazy chair lady.
Do you think it prompted other people to think about waste a little bit, even in just that act that people were sending you?
Yeah, I think so, because a lot of people would send me photos of like interesting chairs. And I think chairs and furniture have really interesting, like formal language that when you take a photo, it actually looks quite human. Like sometimes you see really distressed chairs on the street with like missing legs. Like they have like this sort of emotion, and people find it really funny when they send it to me. Like it's amazing. It's just a bit of art, but yeah, it's a really nice connection.
Awesome. Brilliant. And do you think in terms of waste, it is, it's kind of sad seeing that people just dump in perfectly good stuff and there's more there. Do you think there's any reflection in that kind of in relation to culture or different cultures or identities within that?
Well, growing up, my mum would do her best to save every piece of furniture that she possibly could, and I think because it was the 80s, so it was like everything was like brand new and shiny, and it was like this white furniture. I can't remember the name, but it was like, I don't know if it was like chipboard or MDF or something, but it was coated in white and it had like gold handles and everything. And it was just like and my mum still had like this beautiful dark wood wardrobe from the 1940s, and it was scratched and bits and pieces, and she was like, oh no, we can restore this. And she would lovingly, ask other people, like, how would I go about to restore the scratches on this beautiful wardrobe? And we kept it for years and years and years. And it was like this sort of her idea was like, if it's not, it means something to her because it was very well made. There was beautiful carving, but that was out of style in the 80s. But she wasn't like sort of like, oh, well, I better get rid of it then and get something else, She kept it. So she taught me a valuable lesson to appreciate what you have and look after it well.
And actually, so then the objects that we choose to keep can really tell us something about who we are in a story as well, isn't it? There's kind of that story sharing element within.
My friend years ago had this gorgeous 1930s bed, and he was in his backyard. He was going to take it to the tip, and I was like, no, I want that. And he was, oh, but it's old and this, and don't worry about it, I'll fix it up. But I still have it, and I get a very good night's sleep with it, so I'm very pleased.
Oh, fantastic. What about, do you have kind of a strong connection with the environment within your practice? Is that something that actually in the work that you create that you want to sort of make reference to or be considerate about?
I think that I would like them to be more aware and use more recyclable materials in my work, and because I like to follow the seasons of the year and make little pieces. Sometimes it can be a little clay piece or start designing a different doll or a puppet that I would like to make. And I just think that being part of the creative narratives has already sort of challenged my thinking as to how I can incorporate that more into my work. So I think that's going to be really interesting. I think by the end of it, I'm going to be completely different with how I view recycling, and there'll be a lot more of it in what I want to do with my work.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think the environment's quite crucial to my artwork, I guess, because I see like an object has a network of life cycles and a network of people, of users. that it goes to and from. And my work is all about how we put values, how we attain values to different objects beyond just kind of like that financial monetary side of being like, well, yeah, that screen maybe costs 200 quid, but actually this little bracelet or the sped that I've had from my parents' backyard is actually even more valuable than any of these things that you could spend loads of money on. And I think that is something in my practice is very tied to how people identify themselves and how they identify with objects, but also how they kind of identify with the environment that they live in or they come from, like all these experiences that make us also get given to these objects. And I don't actually know if I've answered your question. I think I've just gone on a tangent. But yeah, I just see it as like, if we can open our eyes to how many lives these objects live and where they come from, where us as users come from, and how they travel throughout the world. I think that's really interesting. So, for example, in the workshop today, we were talking about during lockdown, me and my friends found this crisp packet that was its use by date was 1995, which is the same year I was born.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
A crisp packet as old as you.
Yeah, it's impressive. So for me, I found that
not impressive.
Yeah, it's impressive, but really scary actually, but also quite interesting to try and think about what sort of journey that crisp packet has been on whilst I've been living my entire life. Like it's also been on the earth that same amount of time. So yeah, I think there is a huge connection with waste and objects and the environments they find themselves and where we find ourselves as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that we're keen to do with the Reclaim Narratives project, is almost looking at what have we got already, in terms of resources, but also in working with people over here. And there's so much, there's so much to share, isn't there? There's so many great kind of stories and people with different viewpoints on things, but actually we can bring that together. We don't have to create new kind of things. We can look at what's here already. At OT Creative Space, we're all about bringing together artists and the local community, and that's a really strong part of the Reclaimed Narratives project, where each of you will be we're just in the starting phases of doing workshops with local people, and then a little bit further on after Easter there'll be workshops that more members of the community can get involved in creating the artwork and looking at those themes. So I wonder, how important do you feel working with the community is in terms of your work and this project specifically?
Well, I've lived in Old Trafford all my life, and I'm really excited to be working with the community and getting to know people. So when I walk down the street, Ayres Road, I might know some faces that I can stop and say hello to. Things like that are quite important to me.
And Old Trafford's very like that, isn't it? In terms of when you walk down, you see people.
Yeah.
Or who recognise you from different things.
But I think that's wonderful, and I just want a bit more of it. And I think the project that I want to do with the community is I want to explore folk tales and folklore, like I've said before. But I'm so excited to hear what other people are going to tell me, because it'll be really inspiring, and I hope they feel really inspired. And I don't know whether that will be making a doll in doll form, or using lots of cardboard and newspaper and found objects and bits and pieces and fabric to sort of make like a diorama, like sort of exploring like a story that we know, and just having fun. I just want to get